Oh, what's up, bro? How you been? I haven't seen you in like forever. How you doing? What? You don't remember me? You know, 40k, Dice for Dummies, the YouTube channel, makes content super simple that even the dummiest of 40k players can understand what I'm talking about. The guy who will randomly show off his room and do stupid stuff like this? Nothing? Seriously? Look, bro, I know my content schedule has been super off recently. I've been away, bro. Come on, give me a break.
Man, I gotta start telling some funny jokes. I just can't seem to get it right, can I?
Welcome back to Dice for Dummies, the 40k YouTube channel that talks about and simplifies Warhammer 40k content so much that even the stupidest and most idiotic and overlooked players can understand and keep up with what the heck is happening in this crazy wacky game we know as Warhammer 40,000. In today's video, I'm talking about a topic that I think is completely overlooked in the current state of Warhammer 40,000 and general Warhammer games overall, and just tabletop war games in general, and actually needs to be brought to the light if we're going to see the health and future betterment of the game Warhammer 40,000 and just other tabletop games in general, and that's going to be game courtesy. You see, while most people are talking about the Farrier Nexus mission deck, how the replacement and the importance of battle lines is going to completely change the game forever, how Titanic needs 2 deployments now instead of 1, and how it's going to be helping the betterment and health of Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, how paying for movement is actually a really important thing, and the debate between should you be paying for movement and should you not be paying for rotation, or rotation, is on the rise, how things like Tyranids, Tyranids and Astra Militara are crazily glowing up right now and are actually doing really well in the current meta, how the Bully Boys being completely eradicated from the Orc Codex, basically because of the 20-point increase to Meganoms, is affecting a huge portion of the Orc community, and tons of awesome stuff that's happening in 40k right now. I think that this topic is more important than all that combined. Let's not waste any more time and get straight into it with what the heck is game courtesy and how you can show it in your future games, whether it be AOS, 40k, Kill Team, Necromancer, Old World, anything. Just generally how you can show it in your future games of whatever you want to play. Now, what is showing game courtesy? Now, the official definition of courtesy is the showing of politeness in one's attitude and behavior towards the others. This is the definition of courtesy. More or less, it's just showing respect and kind behaviors to the other person when you're in their presence or communicating with them or doing an action with them. So I'm going to give you some examples of what I think it is to show game courtesy in a real life perspective, and I'm actually going to give you a heads up here. All of these examples and all the examples on the next slide I've actually experienced or have done myself, so I know what I'm talking about when I say game courtesy, and I really hope that this gets across to people, especially people who kind of think these are okay to do, as it's what's going to embedment the health overall of 40k, but just generally other tabletop war games in overall. Now, the first one I want to give off is that your opponent has officially stated they are going to do something. So let's just say they said, okay, so I'm going to have these models, they're going to cleanse here, and I'm going to get these 2 points on cleanse. And you're like, yep, cool, fair enough, you agree, it's been stated, it's been said. Or they say, okay, I'm going to make a 6-inch charge here, or I'm going to do an action over here, or I'm going to do something. Whatever you want to imagine, let's just say you've officially stated it, you've said it. The opponent said it, and it's good to go. And they forget to do it. Which, let's be real, it happens. This game, the tabletop war games overall, especially 40k, is a mass monster for memory capacity. It will take up anything you imagine. So, having to remember all those things and then having done something and forgetting about it, it completely makes sense. But the most courtesyful thing I imagine you can do here would be to let them play their move. What? Why would I do that? Why would I give them the heads up? Well, let me give you straight, Buster. They already declared it. They already said they were officially doing it. Meaning, if they forgot, it doesn't really matter. And I think, honestly, that you should be doing this in casual gameplays, but also in tournament gameplays. Because after all, the whole point of 40k is to play together. And if you officially declare something, my friend, that's been declared. That's happened. That's done. It's been set in stone. So if they forget to do it, and obviously if you don't come back to it, if you've moved on to like the next battle round, fair enough. But if you're still in the same battle round and they like kind of bring it up like 30 seconds later, even if they forgot to do it, let them play it. Let them do it because they've already declared it. It's only fair if you do it, and this should be basically taken for not only your opponent but also you. If you declare something and you forget to do it, it should be your opponents having courtesy among you to, well, let you play that move. So I think this is a perfect example of courtesy, more or less. It's basically just saying, being a good person. If you know something has been done, then let it happen. There's no point in trying to win off saying, oh, well, you didn't do it, so it's not fair, because after all, it's been declared. If they sat there, I'm not saying if they sit there and they go, oh, well, I didn't mean to do that, so I'm taking it back. No, That's not fair. But if they were literally talking about doing it and have declared it officially, then, my friend, that move has been made. And it's a perfect example of courtesy in the first place. Situation 2, which is why I put Sit 2, as you've organised the game to play the day prior, and you are now getting ready. The most courteousful thing you can do is make sure that you bring every single one of your things to yourself. You should never, ever, ever have to rely on someone else to bring your stuff for you. That means you bring your own dice, your own tape measure. If you need cards, you bring your own cards. If you need something important, you get this organized. And if you can't get cards for some reason, you make your own cards. I've made my own custom 40k cards for my own armies once, and they've worked fine when I've played games before. You should have to have your stuff ready before you play. It is not fair to put the pressure on someone else and then have them bring it and say, oh, it's not the right one, or I didn't want that, or oh, come on, man, and then getting angry. This happened to me before. I have literally had to bring stuff for people before, and they start complaining about the stuff I bring because it's not their type of stuff. I don't care, and you shouldn't have to care either, and your opponent shouldn't care either. You have to bring your own stuff, especially in a tournament. I don't think this is too heavy in like competitive play, but it definitely is prominent in casual play. People will just rock up without stuff and be like, oh, can I just use yours? And the game takes that much longer because they have to constantly borrow stuff from you. You should each to your own bring your own stuff, and you should have your own stuff ready to go no matter what the cause or pace is. And the third situation is going to be that if you have proxies in your army or your opponent has never played your army before, you should sit down and explain it to them. I have proxies in my army, and I have gotchas in my army as well. You see, both of these can be a huge determining factor inside a game. If your opponent has no idea what your model is, and they don't ask and they play into it, and suddenly it's freaking Gazgol who gets a mass amounts of 2-up save with Makari, they don't want to do that. They didn't know that in the first place. So you should have to explain it to them if you have a proxy model, because it's not fair that they should be asking. And if they ask you, if they be like, oh, what's that? You should be basically more or less guaranteed to tell them. You should not have to feel like a huff and puff about telling them, because after all, you chose to bring a model that's not the true model itself. So you should be able to explain to them what the heck the model is in the first place. The best thing I can do to say this is sit them down before the game and explain to them what each proxy model is, what they represent, and what kind of, war gear they have on in the first place, because it cannot be clear to some people, even if it's a really basic idea. Same with the thing if you've never played the army before. If your opponent has never played your army before, and you have tons of gutchas, I'll give you an example. Grey Knights is literally a gutcha army. It's literally just be like, okay, I'll pick up my thing and put it down wherever I feel like, pick up my army, rapid egress back down, and uppy downy, I'm ready to go. That's a gutcha. For example, for me, because I play the Big Hunt right now, so I am playing with a lot of Squiggle boys, which means I have a lot of Squig Bombs. And Squig Bombs, if you know, completely define every aspect of the game overall. They can just go through terrain basically, after I make a normal move, they can just go through terrain 12 inches anywhere and just send it forward. That's a bit of a gotcha. If my opponent doesn't know I need line of sight, and I don't need that, then it's kind of annoying for them to use. So I will explain to them and sit them down and say, hey, look, my Squiggle boys can do this. It's important you know this because of X, Y, and Z. They'll be like, oh, okay, I got you. Because winning by gutchas isn't really winning at the end of the day, because your opponent didn't have the knowledge overall. If they make a mistake, that's their fault. If they didn't have the knowledge about it, it's kind of hard to say it's an official win because it wasn't really fair in the first place. So sit your opponent down, tell them what your army is, tell them what your proxies are, and basically just be like, this is what this is what that is how this thing plays, this is how this thing plays. Good. They'd be like, good. Then you play, it's a fair game. And if you lose, well, you might not be good enough to beat them. But if you won, that's even a more credit to you, because your opponent knew everything, and yet you still won. So honestly, it's a better feeling when you do win, and I would highly recommend you do this because it just makes the game so much more easier. It makes the game flow. There's no kerfuffles. There's no massive arguments. It's straightforward. Everyone knows what is what, and basically it's just that. And by the way, this should be done for you and your opponent as well. So your opponent should also give you that courtesy of explaining their proxies and explaining their army, no matter what. But fair enough. Now, that is courtesy. Basically the idea of showing respect, having a kind attitude, and basically going out of your way a little bit to make your opponent's life a bit easier, and your opponent should do the same thing for you, so the game flows nice and easy, and you have a fun, exciting game where you learn so much more. What is not showing courtesy? What is an example of courtesy that is basically prolonged in games? I've seen so many times that is the opposite of courtesy overall. Now, this is what not showing game courtesy is, and by the way, this has happened to me plenty of times. these 3 examples, man, I can't say these have happened to me before. So trust me when I say this, these are annoying, and if you know what I'm talking about, it's happened. So this is not showing game courtesy. And once again, remember, courtesy is the showing of politeness in one's attitude and behavior towards others. So it's basically showing respect and kind behaviors to your opponent and your opponent to you. Keep that in mind for what I'm about to say. Now, example 1, your opponent is basically decently over or under your skill level, or you are guaranteed to lose or win. So it's either basically you are like really much better than your opponent's much better than you are much worse than your opponent's much worse than you, or you're guaranteed to win, guaranteed to lose, your opponent is guaranteed to win, guaranteed to lose. You get what I'm saying here. And you zone out, or your opponent zones out, and you basically don't stay active in the game. This is, bloody hell, this is mad annoying, because when you are playing, especially with someone who's much better than you, and they just zone out, you feel bad about yourself. You feel like you're wasting their time, and it's absolutely horrendous. You don't enjoy the game. You're basically playing for them. They're like on their phones, like, oh yeah, just do the role for me. They don't care, especially when they're much worse than you. They just not care. It's completely self-centered, and it just ruins the game overall, because the whole point of 40k is that you play together individually, and you win by explaining. You talk through your moves, you talk through your actions, you have ideas, you say, is this fair? And you both decide together. When it's this one-sided game, it makes the game so boring. I've played so many games, people just either zoned out because they're so much better than me, or they're a lot worse than me, and I'm sitting there just like, man, I don't want to play anymore. Like, I want to play a game where people are active with me, not overall. So the best thing you can do here is, if you are so much better than this one person, or they are so much better than you, take it as an opportunity to learn. Stay with them, even if it's super boring. I know, just stay with them, because even if you win or lose, you can always learn something from the situation and become a better player because of it. So don't zone out, stay with the game. Next one's going to be easier opportunities to cheat and cut corners, aka you cheat and you cut corners, or your opponent cheats and they cut corners. This is just super annoying, because overall you're training for the wrong game here. It's like saying in basketball, oh, travel is now 5 steps, and you take 5 steps when travel is a completely less number than that. You're playing a different game. You're playing games where rules are augmented, and you're not winning the true game of 40k. You're winning your version of 40k. You're winning your game where my boys are AP2 naturally. I'm playing a game where my Storm boys have a 14-inch movement, not a 12-inch movement. Like, you're not winning the right game. You're playing a completely different game. So, understanding and cooperating with your opponent on what the true rules are will make you a better player at the actual game of 40k, not this imaginary second part that you're making up. And it's important to understand this, because when you cheat and cut corners anyway, it doesn't feel good when you win, because you know that, oh, I couldn't have won unless I had bumped my truck forward a little bit. And you know these people I'm talking about. You know, people who measure from the front and then place their models from the back, giving them like 3 or 4 inches extra movement. People who will just generally, you know, roll dice behind terrains so you don't see them. All these little stupid knickknacks and stuff that people do. You don't win the game. So stay honest, stay pure, and just fully play the game for what it is, and don't zone out. Like I said before, just stay with the game. Play like the game should be played, and trust me, you have so much more fun. And the last one is, you're playing to win, not playing to learn. And you know the kind of people I'm talking about. These absolute just dickheads who will play and play and play to win and win and win. They'll do everything. They'll call out everything. They'll start arguing. I've had a guy who's told me, like, oh, I don't like because your army isn't painted. And I was like, man, come on, it's a casual ass game. Like, the people who just get so fixated on winning that everything goes out the window. This communication, the fun attitude of the game we're playing isn't a game anymore. It's a pure substance to win. And that's fair enough in competitive tournaments. Maybe a little bit more acceptable there. But here, it's a casual game, man. So have fun. Don't play to win. Don't fully focus on winning. Don't just go all in. Like, don't even ignore your opponent's emotions. Just fully send it. Don't do that, because it's just overall not exciting. The game becomes boring really fast, and you just have this annoying, cranky ass, fucking filthy man just yapping his head off about how this, and that is annoying, how it's bad, how it's stupid, and how, oh, I should win this, and like, you know, just being in a bad kind of player, and just a player you don't want to play with. So, be the kind of person who just plays to learn. You should never have to play the game to win, because when you play the game to win, you don't want to lose. When you play the game to learn, you either lose and learn, or you win and learn. Either way, you're winning in some case. And trust me, when you adopt the mindset of, okay, I'm playing to learn, not play to win, you enjoy the game so much more. And so you and your opponent should both have the mindset of learning something new in this game. Because overall, you become a better 40k player, and whether you lose or win, you win overall. So, It's the best thing you can do to become a better 40k player, but also enjoy the game so much more. That is game courtesy. That is the aspect of 40k that needs to be shared with as many players as physically possible. So I'm not saying you share this video because, oh, it's important for the algorithm, I want more views. I'm saying share this video or any other video that talks about game courtesy because it's what truly needs to be implemented in 40k. Not talking about the Tharian Nexus and all these awesome updates that are happening in 40k, because fair enough, they're cool, but game courtesy is what truly is going to turn this game from a, well, pretty average game right now in the situation to a fantastic game, and a game everyone wants to get involved in because everyone's having fun in the actual game 40k, not the theory-based paper game that most YouTubers talk about. So share this video, share other kinds of courtesy videos. I don't really care. Get the message out there, talk about game courtesy, be friend, take this advice, change yourself and change your opponent, and trust me, you have a 10 times better game. But that's going to be game courtesy for you. Like I said, do all the cool YouTube stuff, subscribe, share the video so game courtesy gets shared, like, whatever. Hope you enjoyed this video. Catch you in the next one. Hopefully, if my schedule isn't as bad as it was before.